weight was a huge thing to learn about, just the really important things you need and the bare minimums you need. Do you want luxury, or do you want to just make it work and go get your animal and get off the mountain? So yeah, I mean, it was really a great time to figure out those things, and like I said, what's a pack?
Yeah.
Well, the only thing we pack in Wisconsin is how many snacks we can put in a bag to go sit in a spot all day long.
Yep.
You know, if you got enough snacks, you'll make it. So that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? You won't shoot anything, but you'll make it because you'll have so many wrappers on the ground. But
I don't have good snack management when I'm in tree stands. Like I'm like 20 minutes in, I'm like, these are my last fruit snacks.
Remember those 2 sandwiches you packed for lunch? Yeah, they're gone by 7.
These are stories of outdoor adventure and expert advice from folks with calloused hands. I'm James Nash, and this is the Six Ranch Podcast. What are amps, watts, and volts?
What about them?
Well, what are they? I mean, we throw this stuff around like everybody's supposed to know, and it's not like I got sat down at some point and was like, hey, when you see a 40 watts on a light bulb, this is what that means. It's like, well, a 60-watt light bulb fits in the same thing, and it seems to work. Like, am I getting lied to? I don't know.
Yep. Nope, just output. Hey, you're funny.
Jumps right on him for being an electrician.
Oh, God.
No, tell me how it works.
Voltage is what drives your electricity. Amperage is the part that kills you. 1.5 volts could kill a person versus, you got 100,000 volts running through power lines,
Okay.
mega transport lines. And, that's just...
And 1.5 volts can kill you.
Yeah. 1.5 volts can kill you if you can get perfect continuity through a person. Down to 1.5 amps of flow can stop a heart. It shows that's why we put GFIs, in bathrooms and shit, because that trips at 0.05 amps to protect everybody. Because,
Gotcha.
0.3 could kill a person if they have a weak heart.
Okay. So what is something that has 1.5 volts that...
Just a regular AA battery.
A AA battery.
Mm-hmm.
So a AA battery, we don't think of as a very powerful thing, although, they're running the world, basically. That could kill you if you had a weak heart and you had perfect continuity.
Mm-hmm. Pricking fingers to get into the bloodstream. Your blood has resistance to it, but you could still have the potential there.
Wow.
To cause damage.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most amperage that's ever flowed through your system?
Oh, that's hard to say, because the worst days are when you're sweaty, so you got all that sweat on you,
Yeah.
and then if you get from one hand to the other, so it'll go through your chest, it knocks you back. It definitely isn't just a light hum, it's a snap, and you kind of have a snap reaction. Every muscle goes, and you just, it's interesting.
I think it's fascinating stuff. When we're going through this house build, there's a lot of stuff that I was like, I can do this. Like, I can figure this out. Framing, yeah, I can figure that out. Trusses, especially for a hipped roof like this, that's not a level of geometry that I could ever become competent at.
Sure.
Plumbing, like, maybe with enough time and somebody that was really patient, like general concept, like all goes downhill, I think I might be able to get that. The electrical stuff, dude, no. I don't think I'm smart enough to ever be able to do it. And we're so dependent upon electricity in society, we just do not spend enough time thanking electricians.
There you go. Nice.
Thank you for your service.
Plug.
Dude, it's the truth, man.
Oh, funny.
Like, who's ever come up and been like, hey, man, thanks for being an electrician. I sure enjoy electricity.
Yeah, it is nice to have it.
Yeah.
People don't realize, in today's society, everybody's just, it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
As soon as you get these great rolling blackouts will be a thing everywhere, nationwide versus just certain parts of the country, because the grid can't handle, especially with all these electric vehicles that everybody wants to have.
I
And
wanted to ask you
that's
about
a
that.
segue.
I've been seeing some stuff about how much energy is going to be required if EVs become more popular, especially EV trucks. Do you have a take on that at all?
Charging of a truck, just say you went 100 miles in a day. For that charger to run for, just say everybody gets home at 8 o'clock and then everybody plugs in at 8. You're going to have, it'd be just like everybody plugging in their electric, clothes dryer, and everybody just lets them run for 4 hours to fast charge those trucks. Just in terms of usage.
Okay.
So, like, imagine that, and then on top of your cooling load, everybody's got their air conditioner running, which is, a very significant load in the terms of summer. It's just because everybody's going to get home at that time. They're going to drop their air conditioning down 4 degrees or whatever because they're like, oh, it's fucking hot in here. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with it, but it's just that much more of a load, for the whole, if everybody did it. Obviously, it all adds up. So
Gotcha. So
the grid can't handle it.
The grid cannot handle it right now. We need to make
it's just
more
the
power.
things you've heard, I've heard through lineman people. It's like even Texas's great thing with that ice storm last year. Their whole infrastructure is so old, and that's kind of how they all operate. They just try and get by. If we can maintain it as little as possible, that's how you make the most money. But obviously you have to repair everything, keep it going. And their system was so not ready for a major thing like that. Obviously they're not designed for ice loads like us in the north or whatever, but it's pretty crazy how much the things that get by need to get by.
Yeah.
It's like they're not going to shut down a whole town to upgrade a town.
Yep.
They're just going to make it work until mass failure.
Makes sense.
What about bombs in movies causes you the most heartburn?
I don't even know. I'm sure you're the same way when you watch stuff. My wife will catch me. I'll be like, that's not real. And then she's like, yeah, it's a movie. And I'm like, why am I getting worked up? And I'm sure you're the same way. You sit there and you're watching it and you're like, that's not even close how that goes. And you're like, just shut up. Just be quiet. And you're saying you just watched John Wick 4 and you're probably watching all that stuff go down. And you're like, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy the moment with everybody in the room. I don't need to say anything dumb. So it's just one of those things that you see it happens, whatever, move on.
Dude, I'll catch myself sometimes like on a goofy like science fiction movie like Avatar or something. Like I'll see some kind of sloppy reload and I'll be like, wrong,
Tap, rack, bang, buddy. Hey, what are you doing?
Like that's not how that works. Meanwhile, like this is about, people in outer space mining, for an element that doesn't exist.
Different planet.
It's like, okay, all right, back it off. Okay, let me rephrase that. What is a movie about explosive ordnance disposal or that includes that you feel like got it right, or even just a scene from a movie?
Honestly, they exaggerate it so much that I can't think of one where they got it right. We're talking Hurt Locker. That's a rough one to watch.
Yeah.
Everybody in our career field's like, what? And then we move on to like this Godzilla movie where the EOD tech has been like traveling and he suddenly gets his uniform and he's an EOD tech again, and then he gets thrown off a bridge and then he gets thrown in mud and then they pick him up and then now he's disarming a nuclear bomb on the side of the shore. You know what I mean? Like everything is just so drastic. I don't know. The only things I can think of is the Hurt Locker. Yes, at that time, the people that made my career feel what it is, going through what they did in Iraq, they built it up, but they needed to get a spotlight on that stuff to show. But there are things in there that, yes, the battery running the lines and everything like that, and him being out there in the bomb suit, yes, those things happen and those things are true. But like him picking up 155s that are daisy chained together and just, have you ever picked up a 155? You know what I mean?
They're heavy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's got 8 of them on a chain or something. Yeah. Come on. No.
I think one of the more accurate ones I've seen, and I'm trying to remember this, I might be making it up, but in Generation Kill, I think there's a scene where they find a bunch of 155s that are all wired up. And 155s, folks, are an artillery shell, like the actual projectile. So, some of the early IEDs, and probably some that are still being used, they'd like wrap det cord around that and then have some type of trigger mechanism. I'm not going to get into details because I don't want somebody to make one, but bottom line is, this is something that happened. And I think there's a scene in that where there's just like, they found one, there's just a bunch of Marines like standing there smoking cigarettes, looking at it and making jokes. That's about as accurate as anything that I've seen.
That or shooting it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or
yeah,
just,
we threw a couple rounds into her, see if she did anything.
yeah. Or just waiting for like 30 hours for, somebody to show up.
Sorry.
Work on it.
Sorry.
Oh, you guys have stuff going on, man.
Do we though? Most of the time we're watching movies. And when James bring up the 155s, it's crazy because being over in the Middle East, it's kind of crazy to see UXOs all over the place because what happens is RD will be firing.
What's UXO? And
sorry, yeah,
just to frame it, like there's like 120 countries that download this show every week. So just try to talk about stuff in a way that everybody can understand it if you can.
Yeah, and I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
An unexploded ordnance is what it's referencing, and it can go anything from a hand grenade to a nuclear weapon, we'll say. But most of the time they call us up, and over in the Middle East, after all the wars have gone through, I mean, James being in Afghanistan, me being in Syria, there's remnants of all these rounds because not everything goes off when it hits the ground. The fuse might get ripped off in flight. Somebody might forget to put a fuse on it, and then it's just a round that's out there with nothing in it. So when he was talking about stuff getting made, it's because they'd find it. So just traveling on these roads and being out there, you'd see all this stuff just on the side of the road. And, either it'd be a device or it would just be something sitting there. So in that spot, it's just crazy to know that all the stuff that's getting built might even be U.S. made. So 155s over there, where some of them were U.S. made, and that's just the stuff that goes on, I guess. But yeah, it's crazy to know and think about that stuff. And when we mention it now, and then going back to the movie The Hurt Locker, those were probably all U.S. rounds. Yeah, that dudded out.
It always was especially psychologically damaging when we found improvised explosive devices, IEDs, that had components that came from U.S. troops, right? So I would see stuff that, like, the trigger was made out of a U.S. issued foam flip-flop, and they would have wires stacked in there so that when you drove over the top of it, it would crush the foam, connect those wires, and then we've got amps, watts, volts going all over the place.
That's right.
Yeah. And then, while power in that region of Afghanistan was extremely hard to come by, a lot of troops, when they got done with their batteries for their night vision or whatever, they just throw it out, right? Well, you get enough of those and hook them up together, and you can get a pretty good amount of power out of them. So, when you find like scraps of trash that could have been, better disposed of, that were used, to kill or damage you in your equipment, it's like, man, that was especially psychologically damaging.
That and being, in my head, a third world country. I don't know if that's correct to say. And then we come across guys that, certain people would wrap up, and then we have them and we're processing them, and they have stuff on them that looks like it was made in like a factory in the U.S.
Right.
Like we're talking shrink-wrapped wires with heat guns. You know what I mean? Like they made it look like these devices. You're like, was this manufactured? And it's coming from a different country. It's just getting shipped in, and now these guys are getting caught with it. And you're like, what am I looking at right now? Like we're in the middle of a dust area with mud huts, and they're building things like that. So it's just crazy because in my head, like I couldn't grasp it at first. I'm like, how are they doing this? How is this being made? And then, like you said, the flip flops with wires, but that foam just keeps it separated, and it's all about the maker.
Right.
Whatever he wants to use, whatever he can find. He uses the foam from a USO slipper that they shipped us or something, and then suddenly that's using it as a cushion, so when it pushes together, it connects. It's just, it blows my mind. And then to have to like understand how it works and then make a move on it is just crazy too. I don't know. It's the things you've seen, the things that have been seen, the things that I've been debriefed on. It's just crazy to know that stuff's going on. And like I said, to see those devices that are just made, and it looks like they were made in a factory. It's just, it blows my mind.
No, it's so wild. I remember taking like an IED class, and I can't remember exactly where it was. It might have been in Palms, it might have been somewhere else, but it was specifically for like, hey, this is what we're currently seeing in Helmand Province, where you're going. We're going to be there in a couple months. And I came out of that class like feeling really confident, like, oh, like now I know exactly what to look for. Like anytime I see like trash on the side of the road or rocks stacked up on top of each other, then that's the cue that there's going to be an IED in the road. Like, I've got this. As it turns out, get to a third world country, there's freaking trash everywhere. And stacking one rock on top of another rock is like
how they mark their driveway.
Everything.
Yep.
Everything. It's just what people do for like a hobby. So you look down this road and it's like nothing but rocks stacked and trash, and like, oh, we're all gonna die.
My favorite is I had to go through some training at Fort Bliss, and the same kind of stuff you're talking about. They train you before you go to the AO or area of operation. And you're sitting there, and they're basically going, well, stacked rock. Maybe there's a little bit of dirt in the road that looks like a bump. 1 + 1 = IED.
Right.
And that was the Army's 1 + 1 = IED. And that's how they trained everybody. Yeah, you came out of those classes thinking, yeah, I got a good grasp.
Yeah.
And then you get there, lumps in the road.
Yeah.
Rocks stacked, trash everywhere, dead carcasses everywhere,
Right.
sheep hides thrown all over the... You know what I mean? Like, you could never decipher the thing.
Yeah. And they're also changing all the time, right? They're getting better at it. They're getting smarter.
Drones. Drones.
Dude, drones are a big part of the game now. Yep. And that, like, I was right at the beginning of that. So the drones that we had to operate with had a 2-stroke gas engine. And they were like the size and shape of a trash can. You could hear them from 1,000 miles away. They were really unreliable. They fell out of the sky just about every time we flew them. I don't know how many successful landings we ever had. And when they would fall out of the sky, very often it would be in a place where we did not want to go. That's why we're flying a drone over there.
Yep.
But now we've got to go recover it. When I got back, that was the first time I saw civilian drones that like you could just buy off Amazon.
Yep.
And you could fly them with your phone. It was super easy. And I was like, oh, like this is moving fast. Because in the time it took to get something through the MilGov contract cycle, the civilian market had leapfrogged that so far. I was like, oh, this is unstoppable. Like this is a cat that's like so far out of the bag, it's over the horizon by now. So, what's going on with drones and bombs today? I think a lot of people have sort of seen that in the Russo-Ukrainian war, but what's your 2 cents on it?
I mean, we're not involved as the U.S., but I know a lot of people that have been there, especially for my career field. There's some pretty good individuals, very smart, that have gotten out of their service time and volunteered to go over there. And being a father, I give him a lot of credit. Good kid. But he went over, and the stuff that's going on is you could have a pop can size hole for a stove to stay warm. And you're watching drone footage now of, and this is all open source. You can watch this anywhere, so it's not classified or anything. I'm not telling you guys secrets. But you can watch them pop can size hole of a little stove coming out, and they can fit a hand grenade down there and hit everybody that's trying to warm up in that little bunker. And you can watch all this stuff, open source, Ukrainian stuff. But they're flying over. They have thermals. You know what I mean? Like thermals on these things. They're flying around. And you're watching these impacts. And yes, it's trench warfare over there. But throw this where he's flying at over 1,000 feet maybe with this drone, and they don't even know they're getting dropped on. And you can watch it Ukrainian side and Russian side. And these things that go on, you're like, okay, trench warfare, that sucks. You're firing down the line. You're shooting, AT-4s and doing all this stuff. I would never think to look up. I'm sorry. Maybe artillery or you're seeing jets fly over, but overall, I'm not thinking about a drone hovering at 1,000 feet.
Tough to see.
Exactly.
Very tough to see.
And you can't hear these ones. You got gunfire all around you, and then you're just getting hit by stuff that as soon as it hits the ground, it goes off. And I don't know, to fit something down a pop can lid, to have that size or like that kind of accuracy, it's unsettling. And now with the stuff that's going on in Israel, they're already releasing drone footage of that.
Right.
And they're dropping on civilian cars in line trying to fly away and stuff like that. So it's weird to watch, and then they film it all and put it up as propaganda. So it does get in people's heads just from that aspect too. Yep. But yeah, drones are a big one. And then I'd have to say a lot of places don't know how to handle drones. Like, it's just a little drone. It's still going to take people out, but like it's not the biggest topic that's talked about. Yeah. And now we've been talking about IEDs and that kind of stuff. I think it's a step back now from everybody's perspective, taking a step back from that kind of war, that kind of mentality. Yeah, it's always going to be there, but now we got to relearn the basics and then move forward with new drone experience along with, okay, well, look what's happening in Ukraine, and they're getting hammered with scatterable munitions, bombs, rounds. All this stuff is everywhere, and some of it or most of it didn't go off. The
Right.
dud rate for Russian, munitions, but now it's just sitting there. So what happens? Oh, more UXOs. So it's just this whirlwind of new experiences and new times. So
We had one of the tanks in one of my sister platoons ran over something in 29 Palms, California, Mojave Viper, and blew the track off the tank. And it was not in a bombing range. So who knows? Like, that could have been World War II munitions that had finally gotten enough rainfalls over the top of it to get it exposed. And it exploded and blew the track off the tank. So like, we're getting like extra real world IED training.
practice makes perfect.
When we're in freaking California. But yeah,
No, Blake, he works on one of the bases back home. And I mean, you've been working your normal gigs, rewiring the buildings from the Afghan refugee situation and fixing those things. But I'll show up because I'll get ordnance calls there because stuff will wash out of the valleys and all that kind of stuff during the spring. Like, the frost will kick it up and everything. So I'm up there. Hey, I'm up there. And he'll be working. I'll come visit him and stuff like that. But it's all over the dang place. And you don't know where they were firing back in World War II when they're doing all these practice rounds. And it pops up. Like you just said, it could have been from World War II that your tank rolled over. And there it is. Welcome home.
We have UXO training just for working on a job site.
Sure, I bet.
And we got all these protocols. There's no faster way to shut a job site down for about 6 to 8 weeks to say that you found a UXO while you're digging, an area. It's just insane.
I was in a training area in the Carolinas one time that they had all these trees painted, and they would paint any tree that they found this specific type of endangered woodpecker in. And then if anybody saw a woodpecker, then we're supposed to get a biologist out there to identify it, shut training down. And they briefed us this during training. I didn't catch the hint of, hey, if you see this, keep that shit to yourself, right? But they had to say it. They said it. And I took it literally, so I was like woodpecker hunting the whole time we're out there, and I found one, and I grabbed hold of the radio, and I was like, woohoo, I found one. And I got a pretty stern talking to about that.
12 hours later, I got talked to.
Shut it down. They're like, look, I know we said call it out, but, next time maybe you didn't see a woodpecker.
Yeah. It'll move. It'll be fine.
How long have you guys known each other?
Oh, man. Go ahead, Blake.
Grade school.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't grow up in the same town, but where we were a conglomerated school, 3 towns worth, and he was one town over, and I was the other one, and played sports together and school together, and same class and all that stuff. So I'd say forever, damn near.
Yeah, pretty much.
Where's that?
Gale Electric Trempealeau is where we went to school. That was their conglomerate, what it was called.
Yeah, if you look at Wisconsin, it's on the Mississippi. But if you look for La Crosse, one of the bigger cities, we're north of there. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
What do people get wrong about Wisconsin? You're not a state that gets talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Everybody always asks, where's the brat and sauerkraut? I mean, that's really it. Oh, you guys have cheese? Yeah, I got cheese in my fucking pocket. You want some? I don't understand what it's all about and the way we talk, and it's just some guys' accents are worse than others. So
that's the way it goes.
Pretty
better.
Oofta. Yeah, that's right.
A good accent.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be from Missouri. Right?
Yeah.
That's not a good accent. Parts of Missouri are, but there's like a Boot Heel, Missouri. Have you ever heard that? Mm-hmm. There's an accent that comes from part of Missouri that makes me not want to hear anymore. So shout out to the folks from that part of Missouri. Probably get some hate mail over that comment.
It's all right.
That's all right.
They're in Missouri. They're far away.
So you guys, tell me what you're out here doing.
All right. So when I was overseas, I was in Qatar. You posted a kind of learn to hunt. And I've grown up in Wisconsin just doing normal whitetail hunts. And Blake's taken me out a couple times. We've done coyote hunting along with like turkey and stuff. Squirrel hunting, just the fun little things. But it's a different lifestyle out west. And watching things and me getting more intrigued about wanting to go out west, I was like, I have no effing clue what to even think about or how to do this. So you posted that last year. I think it was like February or something like that. You posted it. I hit you up, and I couldn't make it obviously last year. And you kind of worked with me and you're like, yeah, well, let's go next year, October. And I was like, hell yeah. So I think it made sense. Like, yeah, I might know some stuff. I might know how to do this, this, and that. But I needed a James Nash breakdown of how to hunt out west. And, fortunately, we were able to come out. We got out here, and you kind of started breaking everything down from how to pack in, how to get to your campsite, how to set up, how to get ready, how to go out, how to glass, how to move. And then when opening day came yesterday, we were successful right off the bat, and it felt good. And then now we've just been breaking down and cutting up, doing the things that we can. But I needed that because I need a baseline. I have a baseline in Wisconsin. I don't have a baseline out west. And I just don't want to get caught where here I've killed this, big elk or whatever, and I'm totally effed because I don't know what to do or how to do it. So once again, I need a baseline. So to fall back on, something to fall back onto. And then you brought some interesting folks out to come talk to us and teach us about, mule deer and whitetail and all this kind of stuff, and talk us through how it's different from where we hunt. It's still the same in a way, but it's different, and how to break that kind of stuff down. And I needed that, me personally. I don't know if Blake did.
No, we both needed it. Being from the Midwest, where everybody has a 40, if you're lucky. People are hard up for hunting permissions, and then everybody's bombing out in the public land, and like hardly nobody in the Midwest sees animals in their natural day-to-day process, right? We see them pushed around, kicked around, because there's so many people in the woods. So it's, and we just wanted to get the grasp on, glassing was huge, what to look for, tips and tricks. And it's, we have an opportunity to glass, but you're just going to look at the neighbor's field that's only, 800 yards long. And it's like all the deer from every, the whole county lives in this one field because he's got certain food that time of year. But it's nice to break it down and kind of get a grasp for all the Western aspects of hunting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it, like you teaching us how the valley breathes. It warms up during the day, it goes up. At night, she goes down. Like, for wind calls and making those judgment calls, I would have never even known. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And the great spider migration. All spiders from Oregon are going to Wisconsin. They will be there very soon.
When it's warm. That way they fly the right way.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. No, it's a fun thing. I've been so excited about this school, and so excited to get you guys out here. And, we've been talking about it for a long time. But my concept is really antithetical to what every other outfitter wants. Like, outfitters really make their living off of repeat clients and people that come back year after year or every other year. And my whole concept with this was, I want you to never need a guide again. So when you came out, you had a lot of your own kit. I'd recommended a gear list, but I also had all my stuff that I was, happy to fill in for you guys to try out, to see what works for you. Because so much of it is personal preference. And there's a lot of people out there that are just cramming brands down your throat all the time. And like, you've got to use this, you've got to use that. Like, I trust my life to this Benjamin air rifle. Like, shut up. So I wanted you to be able to bounce around and find the stuff that worked. But, you guys showed up, you loaded up with freeze-dried and a bunch of snacks and water. And we lined out your packs and, talked about everything that you would need for a backcountry hunt, strapped it all to your packs. And then you guys took off. And, where you camped, we could drive to. But you elected to go the hard way, and you climbed up a pretty steep cliff, went through some rim sections, got up on top, picked out your camp spot, and then we got everything set up there for you, and then you guys glassed your guts out. You guys probably put 12 or 15 hours behind the glass before the season started.
Yeah.
And like you start to learn these animals in that amount of time, and you start to learn their routes and memorize trees and like find specific groups within groups and how they kind of operate. And like,
Yep.
they left here in the evening, but they came back here in the morning, and you can kind of put together the picture. And then, since we did all that work on the front end, it changes things on opening day. But we also had a really wonderful mule deer lesson from Chad Dotson, who's like a legendary mule deer guy. Had some whitetail talks about how whitetail act in different parts of the country from Kevin Harlander, who's hunted whitetails all over the country. He's a fellow Midwesterner, so I knew you guys speak the same language.
Yeah, hit home, yeah.
Again, I'm amazed that we made it through that without talking about walleye, but we did it. And then we spent 5 hours on the shooting range, too, and got to go through a bunch of different scenarios. Had either of you ever shot off tripods before?
I have not.
Minimally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then suppressors.
Yeah.
Sold me on those very much so. I'd have to say the shooting was pretty fun, but it also, there's so much that goes into it that what you showed us and what we used made me settle down.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be having to do those dope cards and figure out a lot of things, but with you showing us what you did and doing what we did, you made me less restless, we'll say.
Yeah.
I was pretty worried about having to make those kind of judgment calls in a mountainous environment and thing like that. But
man, our rangefinders today are so smart.
Yes.
If you they're like bread machines, right? Like making bread all on your own is kind of hard to do. It's hard to get a good product with that. But if you have a bread machine and you weigh everything correctly and you add all the right ingredients, you get good bread every single time. And it's really like that with these rangefinders. So if you put in all the correct inputs for your muzzle velocity and everything about your bullet and everything about your gun, which is easy to find out, put all that stuff in there, man, it's going to do the rest for you. Like you don't have to be a smart man. You got to hit the button and then learning how to use reticles. I don't think either of you guys had shot with reticles that much.
Nope.
Yeah.
No. Duplex for life. That's it. Yeah. 100 yards or less.
Yeah.
At home.
And you don't need it back home, right?
Right.
You don't need it. But as it turned out, we didn't need it here either. We took I think 198-yard shot, somewhere in there.
Somewhere like that. You guys know better than I did.
Yeah.
At that point.
You ended up shooting off of your tripod.
Yep.
So that training turned out to be really applicable.
Definitely.
If we'd had a bipod only, we'd have been hosed.
Yes.
Could not have taken that shot with a bipod.
Might have been on your shoulder or something.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. Yeah, no, it trained me well, but then also you had me push out right away, right off the bat to 700. That's the farthest I've ever shot.
Yep.
So to me, I'm like, how did I just hit that without even, all we did was zero. You know what I mean? And then you're like, do this, click, 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 and then boom, we're right on target. So.
And you 10-ringed it at 700 yards. Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I was just amazed at that aspect. And I was kind of confused in a way because I was like, that's it?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just drew me back a little.
So then, we got your buck, and I had a buck tag too. And because we had the silencer on there, those other deer didn't know what was going on. You very graciously offered to let me shoot a buck following you up there. So we ended up with 2 bucks right on the ground, 15 yards apart. Fantastic. That really gave us double the opportunity to go through the next phase, which was learning how to field dress. Yeah. And it's something that both of you guys have done in the past. Everyone has a little bit different style of field dressing, and different situations are going to call for different styles as well. What do you feel like was the biggest difference between the way that I was doing it and the way that you guys have done it in the past?
Complete opposite. You started at the top. You know what I mean? And we always start at the bottom, work our way up.
As far as cutting with the grain of the hair.
Cutting with the hair. And, God, what was the tool?
Zipper?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the slickest thing I think I've ever, after I got the hang of it, understanding how to use it. But after understanding all that, that was slick. But then moving your way through, also, a key point that I didn't even know about is you need to have these to show the sex on the carcass. I didn't know you need to do that out here.
Different states are different with that, but proof of sex attached while you're transporting the animal before it's processed.
Yeah.
And that just, keeps people honest, right? You don't want somebody that shoots a cow elk and then shoots a bull elk and then, is like transporting the bull's head with the cow meat. And like, there's been shady stuff that's happened in the past, and that's what they're just trying to prevent. So.
But that's for our future of going out west. I need to know that. You know what I mean? So right off the bat, you're already hitting those wickets. To me, though, like I said, it's complete opposite, and then showing us how to gingerly cut around the butt and make it so you don't have to break that pelvis in the field, though. You know what I mean? Like, I've grown up where everybody's got a bone saw and they just cut right through it. To this, nobody's going to save the butthole meat, as you said. You can just cut her out and then flop it out, and then everything falls right into place. But that was my take. What about you, Blake?
Yep. No asshole meat survived.
Yeah. Maybe if you're from Bozeman, you might want to save that. But everybody else is probably going to take a pass on the rectum. So then we transported back here to the shop/studio, and then breaking the animal down. There's lots of little tips and tricks in there that get you more efficient all the time. Yeah,
you definitely hit a lot of things that, like I said in the past, like normally in the environment where I'm butchering stuff, everybody's kind of ornery. They are all, it's the end of the night. Either they want to get back out hunting, or you're not doing it right. Here, give it to me, I'll do it. So here you broke things down and you're more patient. So there's a lot more learning for me, but then also the cuts we're making to get them in the game bags. I've never had to do game bags before. And then the little secrets of, cut this piece off, trachea, throw it over here so the bees aren't bothering you. I'm like, What do you mean bees? Meat-eating hornets or, yellow jackets or whatever. I'm like, I don't have that. I don't have that problem. So from now on, I know throw something away so the bees get their own, and then you can just keep working. So little stuff like that I didn't even, you know what I mean? Can't comprehend because I'm not from this area. So
yeah. Blake, anything stand out to you on the breakdown phase?
Nope. I mean, it everything did. It was really awesome to see proficiency with a knife, and then the amazing finding of joint sockets, pops. Slip this one ligament and the whole thing falls off.
Right.
It's just it's hours on the knife is your best friend, and that gives you your speed. Obviously it's really amazing to watch you do your thing, and guide us and tell us what to do on our animal. So it was great.
Yeah.
Every part of it.
I love cutting meat, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like more and more, like that's the part of it that I enjoy the best.
Once you threw your legit holster for your knives and your stuff, I'm just like, oh yeah, he means business. We better just give him some air, let him do his thing for a little bit, and we'll
with
just keep
chain belt. Well, you're like, oh god, is this a movie?
Jack chain belt. I'm like, what in the world's going on here? Straight out of Saw.
So you use a chain because it's easy to clean.
Sure, makes sense.
Yeah. So if you use leather or nylon or something, then everything sticks to it. But stainless steel chain just cleans off in seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're out in the backwoods of Oregon and you throw that on, I don't know if I need to run or help. So when that happened,
how well do I know this guy? Oh my god, that's funny. Yeah, and then have you roll out a big piece of plastic on the shop floor like Dexter. Like, it'll be fine.
Yeah, you guys are fine.
Why are you shutting the lights off, James?
That's weird music. And then, so that was yesterday. Everything hung out in the Argali bags and cooled all night long. And then today we started doing the cut and wrap. So this is sort of I wouldn't say the final phase, but close to the final phase of the school is cut and wrap. Right now, we have everything broke down. So everything that we're going to grind is in a tote in the freezer right now, and it's cooling off. I've got all of my components for the meat grinder in the freezer, which really helps keep everything cold and it just makes it a better process for making sure that meat gets cut instead of smushed. We have everything else wrapped with some really lovely artwork, some custom artwork from Blake on there. I love that, man.
Shank you very much.
Yeah. Shanks for your service.
That's right.
Man, that's fun. Like there's still lots of little things that you can learn along the way for like being more efficient, being safer, learning how these muscle groups work. Like the hindquarter can appear really intimidating, but as soon as you realize that there's only like 5 parts to it, and that you can actually feel them.
You were breaking it with your hands.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Find the natural seam in
Exactly.
in the muscle groups.
Yeah.
And then you just move on.
Yeah. And just knowing that, like, there's just a few names for this. It's common language.
Yeah.
And then, learning how to wrap and ways to do that. But yeah, we're going to go grind the rest of this. So you'll have your burger product, and, truly the final phase of the school, I won't be there for, but that's transporting your meat home.
Yeah.
And, I'll show you the ways that I do that, and you guys will be on your way. But legitimately, and I hope that you'll give me a really honest answer, do you feel like you could come back to a Western state and conduct a backcountry hunt on your own and be successful at it, knowing what you've learned this week?
Yes. Just due to the fact that a lot of my perceptions about going out west were kind of faded before we got here. I guess I was nervous, like I told you, about like how to do this, how to do that, all this whole list of things that I was like, then you start digging into it and you kind of scare yourself out of it. But how easy you made it and how you talked through, I think I could come out at least somewhere out west and just fire from the hip and be fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I have the bare minimum packing list that you sent me. I packed that here. I know it works. I know what to do at that point. I know if I get something, how to cut it up, how to quarter it. Yes, I'll need new game bags. But moving on from there, I feel like I can do it either alone or with Blake. But
Sure.
I feel like it's helped me out a lot. But even though I knew how to do some stuff, this was still a good thing to come and do, because then it still shows me another way, but then it also shows me a way that maybe if I take this way and put them together, it makes it easier on myself.
Yeah.
So yes, 100% I could do this.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I thank you.
What do you think, Blake? You
I'm
feel
gonna
like you can pull it off?
Basically everything Shane said. So he covered the whole the mindset of figuring out your camp, as in, how are you going to do it? How far away from wherever you're going to park are you going to go?
Mm-hmm.
Get your pack right. Do you want to be 30 pounds? Do you want to be 60 pounds? Do you got enough food for 5, 7, 10 days, however long you're dreaming about staying out there, to be comfortable? But you can be uncomfortable and still do it. So weight was a huge thing to learn about, just the really important things you need and the bare minimums you need. Do you want luxury, or do you want to just make it work and go get your animal and get off the mountain? So yeah, I mean, it was really a great time to figure out those things. And like I said, what's a pack?
Yeah.
Well, the only thing we pack in Wisconsin is how many snacks we can put in a bag to go sit in the spot all day long.
Yep.
If you got enough snacks, you'll make it. So that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? You won't shoot anything, but you'll make it because you'll have so many wrappers on the ground. But
I don't have good snack management when I'm in tree stands. Like, I'm like 20 minutes in, I'm like, these are my last fruit snacks.
Remember those 2 sandwiches you packed for lunch? Yeah, they're gone by 7. I mean, totally. That's totally it too. So,
Yeah.
But the whole meeting all of your speakers coming in, it was great to listen to the, what am I looking for? Like the patterns
Okay.
that you can look for, the signs you can, soak in. And the thing I liked today even was just learning your stuff on the fly. Like, you'll figure it out. Like, you're not going to fail. You could fail hard and it's going to hurt, but you'll be able to bounce back and learn from everything you do.
Right.
Like, it's been a great experience.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm really glad. No, this has been, like I said, a lot of fun and something that I've really looked forward to. And you guys are super fun to hunt with. And you did a school with Kate and Justin Small.
We did. Me and my wife.
Yeah.
Yep, we did that in June this year.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Was that fun?
For the Wolf Academy. Yep.
Yeah.
Over there in Cascade, Idaho. That was great. We stayed at a ranch outfit out there, and everybody, I mean, it was very interesting. My wife and I were more interested in the whole, because we have wolves in Wisconsin, and eventually they're going to hopefully have a regular season versus just a sporadic every, 10 years the way it seems. But, it just getting, because like in Idaho and Montana, anybody, Joe Blow down the street can go buy a wolf tag, and you'll have your, what is it? I think they said there's like a 1 or 2% success rate or something, just astronomically low. but you can still go put the miles in and try.
Yeah.
You know, it was very fun to listen to and learn from those people. That was really a good time. So,
what was your biggest takeaway that you felt like I'm going to be able to implement this back home?
Back home, so mountainous terrain, which is what the Kate and Justin and then Tom, they all talked about learning their styles and techniques, and it's like we can't correlate that strictly by what they're saying, but like patterns. If you can somehow find where they're staying in a dream world situation, and you kind of make a move on them, and if you can, like, we're probably more for trapping, just because that's logistically how we could. Because the wolves will know where you are no matter what. Just because we're so flat relatively in the northern Wisconsin where most of the wolves are. But the biggest takeaway, I suppose, was just trying to figure out their patterns, how the pack aspect works, and if an alpha or if something like that comes in, if he sees you, they're going to be gone from that country for months at a time. It's pretty interesting how the wolf pack communicates with the young ones, and if you miss your opportunity, you're going to screw the whole pack up, and you're not going to be able to hunt it. So you might as well just drop it for that year.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy what we learned.
They're smart,
very smart, insanely smart.
So, what have been some of the impacts of the wolf population increasing in Wisconsin?
Decreased whitetail numbers, decreased any sort of animal. Like, I remember when they first introduced a pack, I guess you should say, near where we live, in a great big forest, and you'd talk to people, and it's like you go in that public land forest, now it's like a dead zone. There isn't a bird that chirps, there isn't a rabbit running by, there isn't an animal. Like, it's just eerily quiet on a not windy day. Like, it just decimates areas, and then they just move along to the next giant patch of forest to go destroy and pillage, and take every animal in its sight out of the picture. So.
Yeah. There was a really interesting case study that came out of an island in the upper Pacific Northwest towards Alaska. Might have even been in Alaska, but it might have been in BC. I'm not sure. Anyways, wolves swam out to this island that hadn't previously had wolves, and it had deer on it. And they're like, well, this will be interesting to see what happens, There's like 120 head of deer on it, and the wolves killed all of them, ate every single deer. And this was the interesting part, because that's what everybody thought was going to happen, right? They thought, okay, the wolves will probably kill all or most of the deer. So the wolves kill all the deer, and they think, okay, what now? Do the wolves swim back to where they came from? No. They stayed there, and they moved on to a new species, and they started killing sea otters.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. They started killing sea otters.
Amazing.
And shorebirds. And it just started reducing more and more the animals that were able to use this island. And that is the reality of wolves that a lot of people just don't want to believe. It's not this little like teeter-totter, like achieving some form of, make-believe balance in nature where, if the wolves eat too many of this, then they starve, and then the wolf population goes down and the prey population comes up. It's not like that.
Wolves
it's
don't
more complex.
Starve. They don't starve. They will eat anything.
That's right.
And they will destroy anything. So.
And their ability to move is great. So they can eat everything. They can kill everything and then move on, and they can kill everything in a new place. And that eerie quiet that you've talked about, I've experienced here in places that have, heavy wolf populations. And it feels weird to go out in the woods, in wilderness areas even, for like days at a time and not hear a bird or a squirrel. It's like you're just in a vacuum. It's crazy. If it weren't for the, pine needles crunching under your feet, you'd think that you'd gone deaf.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
It's strange.
Mm-hmm.
It's strange. Is there talk of a season getting opened?
They had a spiel this summer where they were talking about it, but that was mostly like with the Trappers Association of Wisconsin and all that stuff. Like they were trying to dream up at least a season to trap them, let alone to try and do population control. Because like the last time they opened a season, it was over within 36 hours because it was like either 36 or 42 hours. This was insane because they have to give you a 24-hour notice that they're shutting the season down if you have a tag. So it's like, they overshot their projected goal by, I think they damn near doubled it. They wanted like 180 or 200 or something like that, and they ended up with just about 400 wolves taken. So it's just because the population was so insane, and the wolves aren't hunted, so if you call them, just say, and where the wolves are, they're going to come in.
Wow.
They don't have a predator. There's no pressure. There's nothing for them. They don't care. It's just crazy to think about.
And you've seen a reduction in deer?
I mean, see here, everybody, it's like, you go up to the north, it's like barren land. They issue doe tags up there still, and some, the locals are like, that is the craziest thing to do ever, because there's hardly any deer here anyway. Why would you issue doe tags in counties that don't hardly have any deer?
Wow.
Because any as in like way reduced from what they've seen in the past, but just the packs have exploded. So,
that's the similar thing that's happened with mule deer here, when you've got locals who are hunters saying, I can't believe they're still issuing tags.
Right.
Like, you really need to pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm. You would think hunters are almost your best biologists, or for the land, to kind of like, they know. Yeah. Boots on the ground. Biologists in an airplane, sure, fine, but hunters in an airplane, that's something.
Well, sometimes state wildlife biology, they just get hamstrung in a lot of different ways. They're subject to political pressure. There's relatively slow processes that restrict their ability to be agile about decision making. And you could have area biologists up there, and I don't know the situation, but you could have area biologists up there that are, recommending right now, hey, we need to cut these tags, but that might be a 3 or 4 year process, and hunters can usually recognize the problem quickly, and maybe the biologists are recognizing it quickly too, but they just are stuck in some type of bureaucracy that keeps them from being able to make that decision quickly enough. It's definitely something that we see out here. Mm-hmm. And Montana is a state where they can only make decisions like every 2 years. So if something like springs up and it's the wrong year, it's like, well, we just can't make decisions about that right now.
We'll write that down and we'll circle back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit nutty. But it's also good, I think, to have some things be slow in government and policy decisions. Otherwise, people's emotions can kind of take over, and we could get ourselves in a really reactive state that might not be good. But man, I hope things work out for the best for your guys' deer and wildlife. And I think that hunting wolves is an important and powerful management tool, just to be able to reduce that population, to get them a little bit more wary, to get them away from people. I think that you guys are the state that has the most domestic dogs killed by wolves in the country. That's a really sad thing. I would just feel horrible if one of my dogs got killed by wolves.
Just ripped apart and dragged off. You find a leg in your yard. To be just the most traumatic thing ever.
And I wasn't able to do anything about that. Like, that's a family member to me.
Yep.
That's not all right. That's not okay. So hope for some changes there.
Yep, definitely.
But maybe I can come out to Wisconsin and take a wolf class from you once you get her all dialed in and figured out.
That'd be outstanding. That sounds really good.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yep.
Okay, last question before we close her up. Biggest differences between hunting deer in Wisconsin and hunting, and we'll keep it to whitetail deer, and hunting whitetail deer here in Eastern Oregon.
My biggest was, I actually got to, like, everybody sets trail cams in Wisconsin, so you're technically watching or scouting, we'll say, but you kind of get on them and know their times and everything like that, watching your trail cam easy on your phone. It'll send it to you. We were on a nice ridge top watching now. Now we're glassing. Now we're seeing where they go physically instead of, oh, it sent me a text. They're out there, at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. They're going through or
And
whatever.
like you're saying, a trail camera is only one point in a whole forest system. It's that one part of that, 80
corner.
acre or,
Yep.
the whole county. That's the only place you can get a pattern. It's like that doesn't matter because that deer goes 20 yards one way, 20 yards the other. You're not going to see them.
Yep.
You're not going to know they're there.
But yeah, that's my biggest takeaway is that it's being able to glass and watch and see them. And then we started developing patterns, but then also like you're physically there for them. I thought was very cool. And then back home, it's kind of in a tree stand. You're sitting there, you're waiting. And then opening morning, you hear World War III with rounds going all over, pow, 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 pow. And those deer are just sprinting everywhere. Here, opening morning, I think we might have been the first to shoot.
Yeah.
But we didn't, maybe 3 or 4 gunshots throughout the whole day. And we had to actually stalk and go to the deer.
Right.
They didn't come to us. If I sit back there, the trail that I'm on or the food plot or wherever I'm at, they're kind of coming to me. Obviously, I'm not moving. I'm just sitting in a tree. But here we went to them, set up a tripod, took our time, and then worked our next shot. Those are my 2 biggest, I think. What about you?
Right, for sure. I mean, that's it. You have the ability. If you go on a great public land track out here, if you can find the animals and if they don't do what you've noticed for the last 3 days, improvise. You can adapt to your situation and hopefully make a good plan to put a stock on them,
Mm-hmm.
So versus like Wisconsin, you're stuck on one corner or the other. It's like, I'm not going to go do anything because everybody's nervous about blowing their deer out of their piece of property into the neighbors because that buck you could be trying to let grow up on your acreage to watch it go to a mature deer. All of a sudden you make one wrong step on your property, that buck's gone. And the neighbor's going to shoot it, which is just fine because nobody owns the animals, but it's still it's a mindset kind of in the Midwest, that's my deer. It's like, no, is it really though? It's like, it's everybody's game and you never know what that deer is going to do, but you're going to try your damnedest to not let the animals leave your ground.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you want to be the refuge.
Right. Exactly.
But you also want to be able to hunt deer from time to time. It's tricky.
Yep.
It's tricky. Well, I think our meat is probably cooled off well enough at this point that we can start sending it through the grinder and get everything packaged and cleaned up and we'll be done with the meat processing and ready to move into meat moving, hauling meat.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I do appreciate everything you did for us, though.
And some meat enjoying. I can see some tenderloins in our future.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys are going to have some tenderloins and some bone marrow over the fire tonight.
Yep.
It's going to be good.
On the far side of camp.
Yeah, no, thank you, sincerely.
No, we appreciate it, seriously.
This has been awesome, and this is something that I'm going to continue to do. And I might do it with elk in the future, might continue it with whitetail, but I want to do more of this because I do think it's really important for hunters to share their experience and knowledge with other people and move these skills around. We owe it to each other to do this. And, if somebody can take a week and they can learn how to camp and scout and shoot and hunt and field dress and process meat and transfer that meat home, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of skill. It took me a long time to learn how to do all this, and if I can pass parts of that on to somebody else over the course of a week, I want to do that.
But also, the thing that I think you've been harping on the most is taking a good shot.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that I think it took me a long time to get, and now that you got me confident to where I am now, that one shot also like a nice, perfect shot, not just firing to fire anymore.
Well, you made a beautiful shot, and that deer was dead before he hit the ground.
Yep.
It's pretty nice, especially coming out of archery season where, it's like an investigation every time somebody shoots. It's like, okay, where was he standing? Where's the last place you saw him?
Yep.
What was he running like? Could you see your arrow sticking out? It's like, no, we shoot, it dies right there. Like,
Mhm.
freaking love rifle hunting so much. Makes me happy. Okay, let's go grind some meat, boys.
Sounds good.
brother.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all very much for listening. I'm going to keep bringing you these stories from normal people just like you who have done extraordinary things. Everyone is an expert at something, and they have interesting perspectives on life and work and the environment and all the things that we care about. I'm going to keep bringing that to you. And I want to thank you so much for making this show possible. I also want to thank Emily Bratcher for producing this show. She does a great job editing. Really appreciate her. I want to thank John Chatelain. He did the art for the Six Ranch podcast. And Celia, soon to be Harlander, she digitized that so that we can get it out there on the internet for you. Also want to thank Justin Hay for writing this original music and the beautiful whistling that you're listening to right now. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Please keep listening to the show. Write me a review if you feel like it, and just keep doing your thing, and we'll all learn from this together. It's been fun, and we're just getting started.